Good morning to all the students of class 7. This is Karunesh Mishra from Lakshmi Prasad Memorial Public School, Gola Bazar, Gorakhpur. Most welcome to all of you in online class. I hope you all are safe and fine at your home in this pandemic situations. Dear students, in the previous video, I have taught all of you the fifth chapter of geography, our atmospheres. I have explained you about the atmosphere, compositions of air, and what are the significance of atmosphere for all of us. Today, we shall study about the structure of the atmosphere. Today we will study about the different layers of atmosphere, troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere and exosphere. So let's start the chapters. Before going to start the structure of the atmosphere, I would like to recall or remind to all of you what I taught you in previous video. What is atmosphere? I think it is clear to all of you that atmosphere is a thick blanket of air surrounding the earth from all sides. So the thick layer of air which surround the earth from all sides is called atmosphere. Atmosphere is a thick layer of air, and you have studied in your previous classes that air is a mixture of gases. There are different compositions of airs. It is a mixture of gases like oxygens, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, helium, neon, krypton, xenon, hydrogen, ozone. So what are the proportions of these gases in the airs? I have explained you that there is a 78% of nitrogens in the airs, and the proportions of oxygen is 21%, whereas organs is 0.90% and other gases are in the proportions 0.17%, and the proportions of carbon dioxide in air is 0.03%. So these are the percentage of these gases which comprises of air, or air comprises of oxygen, nitrogens, argons, hydrogen, helium, kryptons, xenons, carbon dioxide. And besides of this, a substantial amount of water vapors is also found in the atmosphere through evaporations of water in the ocean, lakes and river. I have explained you that what are the significance of atmosphere. Atmosphere plays a very crucial role in sustaining different form of life on the earth. Without of it, we cannot imagine or suppose life on the planet earth. The main advantage of the atmosphere are briefly discussed among all of us in the previous video. Firstly, oxygen is the most important component of atmosphere, which helps to sustain life on the earth. Without of it, life is not possible on the earth. As well as aids in combustions of fuel. Nitrogen, secondly, nitrogen is a crucial and necessary for the growth of plant. It is also used to produce various compounds which are useful to the man in varieties of ways. Carbon dioxide is absorbed by plants, which used to make the food through the process of photosynthesis. Moreover, it also controls the Earth's temperature by observing the heat radiated from the surface, heat radiated from the surface, and keep the earth warm, which is referred to as a greenhouse effect. ozone, a gas which is represent in a very small proportion in the upper atmosphere, absorbs the most of the harmful ultraviolet rays or radiations of the suns, thus protecting and shielding life on the earth. Water vapor helps to keep the earth warm and also sustains life through the hydrological process. The dust particles which are present in the lower atmosphere act as a condensations nuclei around which the evaporated moisture in the air condense, leading to the cloud formations. The atmosphere acts as a protective shield guarding the earth against falling meteorites that mostly burn out when they enter the atmosphere. Sound waves are able to travel due to the presence of air, hence we are able to hear each other. Radio waves are reflected back to the atmosphere which enable satellite communication. So these are the significance of atmosphere for all of us. Firstly, the presence of oxygens, which is very essential for the survival of all kinds of organisms on the planet Earth. Secondly, nitrogen is a crucial and necessary for the growth of plants. For the growth of plants, it is also used to produce various compounds which are useful to man in a variety of ways. Carbon dioxide is absorbed by the plants which used to make food through the process of photosynthesis. And besides of this, by absorbing heat radiated from the surface, it keeps the earth warm, which is referred to as the greenhouse effect. Lastly, ozone gas, which is present in a very small proportion in the upper atmosphere, absorbs the most of the harmful ultraviolet rays radiated from the sun. The dust particles which are present in the lower atmosphere act as the condensations and lead to the cloud formations. Atmosphere act as a protective shield guarding the earth against falling meteorites. Sound waves are able to travel due to the presence of air, hence we are able to hear each other. Okay, so these are the significance of atmosphere. Now we will study about the structure of atmosphere in a detail. So let's start troposphere. First layer. Troposphere is the first layers of the atmosphere covering earth from all sides. Troposphere, the atmosphere has 5 layers which separate the earth from the extreme and inhospitable climate of space. Troposphere, my dear students, the layer closest to the earth. The layer closest to the earth, the troposphere, is a region of rising and falling air standing up to the height of 13 kilometers. So up to the height of 13 kilometers, the layer of air is known as the troposphere. The layer of air, the closest layer of air up to the 30 kilometers is a troposphere, and at the equator and 8 kilometers at the poles. A mixture of various gases in different proportions. A troposphere is the layer of air closest to the ground in which all life forms thrive. All weather and climate change like fog, rainfall, lightning, cloud formation, snowfall, thunder, storm, etc. also take place in this layer. So all the change in climate, all weather and climate change. All the weather and climate change take place in the closer layer of air called troposphere. It is up to 30 kilometers from the outer surface of the earth It is up to the 30 kilometer from the outer surface of the earth. It is the mixtures of different, it is a mixture of various compositions of the air, or it is a mixture of several proportions of gases. Okay, so troposphere is very essential for weather and climatic change. The troposphere is the dense layers of the atmosphere in which 75% of atmospheric mass is concentrated, and the air pressures drops with increasing altitude. The temperature in this layer drop uniformly at the rate of 1 degree Celsius for every 165 meter of altitude, which is known as the normal lapse rate. Okay, normal lapse rate. Greenhouse gases can be emitted through the vehicles. Greenhouse gases can be emitted through vehicles, the production and consumptions of food, fuels, manufacturing goods, material, woods, rods, building, etc. It is important that we use our resources in a sensible manner so as to save our futures. Development of alternative sources of energy like solar or wind energy and reforestations are the keys to reduce carbon footprints. Okay. Now the second layer of airs is stratosphere. Stratosphere. Dear students, the atmosphere is the regions of the stratosphere. The stratosphere is the region of horizontal and stable airflow which extends above the troposphere to about 50 kilometer. 50 kilometer above atmosphere, above troposphere, above So the stratosphere is a region. Stratosphere is the region of horizontal and stable airflow which extend above the troposphere to about 50 kilometers above the surface of the earth. The absence of convection current makes the condition stable and ideal for flying jet planes. So jet planes fly through the second layer of atmosphere called or known as stratosphere. The presence of ozone layer in the upper stratosphere. The presence of ozone layer in the upper stratosphere protect us from the lethal effect of ultraviolet radiations of the sun. The ultraviolet rays can cause sunburns, various skins and eye disease and even cancers. So these were the disease which can be caused by the ultraviolet rays of the suns. But the upper layer of the stratosphere Ozones protect us from the radiations of ultraviolet rays of the sun. This layer is also free from all types of weather phenomena, as there is a very little water vapor, dust and almost no clouds. In the lower part of the stratosphere, up to an altitude of 20 kilometers, the temperatures remain fairly constant, while in the upper part there is an increase in the temperature due to increased absorption of ultraviolet radiations by the ozone layer. So is that clear to you that jet plane flying through the stratosphere? Why? Because there is a little water vapor, dust and almost no clouds. Almost no clouds. The upper layers of the stratosphere, ozone protect us from the ultraviolet rays of the suns. Ultraviolet rays can cause sunburns, various skin and eye disease and even cancers. So stratosphere protect us from the skin disease or from cancer because the upper layer of the stratosphere ozone reflect back the ultraviolet rays of the suns or protect us from the radiations of the harmful rays of the sun. Now we are going to study about mesosphere. The mesosphere lies above the stratosphere and extend from the stratopause up to an altitude of about 80 kilometers above the Earth's surface. So above the stratosphere, 80 kilometers above the stratosphere, the layer of air is called mesosphere. And mesosphere, the temperature decreases with the rise in altitude in this layer to reach around 100 degrees Celsius at the mesopause. The boundary between the mesosphere and the thermosphere, due to low temperatures, water vapor present in this layer is frozen, forming ice cloud or noctilucent clouds. The mesosphere is also the protective layer wherein most meteorites burn out due to the frictions with the atmosphere. So this is the importance of mesosphere. Up to above 80 kilometers above the stratosphere, the layer of air is the mesosphere. Okay, now let's study about the thermosphere. Thermosphere above the mesosphere and below the exosphere. Above the mesosphere and below the exosphere, you can say that above the mesosphere and below the exosphere, the layers that extend up to 400 kilometers. The layer which extend up to 400 kilometers is called thermosphere, or also known as the ionosphere, due to the maximum concentrations of electrically charged particles known as ion, which reflects radio waves back to the earth, enabling wireless communications. So the temperature in this layer increases with the rising altitude, especially in the lower part due to rise in solar activity. Between the atmosphere and the exosphere lies the thermopause, the upper boundary of this layer. Okay, now let's study about exosphere. In Hindi it is called Bahirmandal. Exosphere and thermosphere is Hindi called ion mandal, ionosphere. We are going to study about the exosphere, the uppermost layer of the atmosphere called the exosphere. It is the last and uppermost layer of the air and it is called exosphere. Okay, once again, the uppermost layer of the atmosphere is called exosphere. The exosphere, it extends or it stretches from the ionosphere upward 1600 kilometers above the thermosphere. Above the thermosphere. Kilometer and gradually merge into space. This layer is extremely rarefied and is the region where atoms and molecules escape into space. As the air molecules here are negligible, it is thinnest layer of the atmospheres and only hydrogen and helium are predominant in this layer. So this layer is comprises of hydrogen and helium. Hydrogen and helium. Okay. Hydrogen and helium. This layer is comprised of hydrogen and helium and it is above 1600 kilometers above the ionosphere, that means thermosphere. Okay. So now this chapter is completed. The questions, the most important questions of this chapter is what qualities of stratosphere make it conducive to fly the jet planes. I have explained you it, and the question is why are the ultraviolet rays harmful for the living being on the earth? Define normal lapse rate. So these are the important questions from options E, and list the layer of atmosphere one by one as found above the surface of the earth, which I have explained you just now. Okay, thank you for listening me. Have a great day to all of you.